just the right thing.
Out, and maybe we gotta unmute the microphones first. We're unmuted now, so I'll start again. Hello, everybody, and welcome to Busting Out here on this Thanksgiving Sunday weekend here in Canada. Happy Thanksgiving to our fellow Canadians, and hello to the rest of the world as well, too. We're glad that you're able to join us here today. I'm one half of the Brunch Busters. You know me as Bobby Munson, and right beside me, the other half, he is Chris Parrish. And guess what? We have a very, very special guest here joining us this weekend, and it's Mr. Oled down there. Ole, Mr. How are you guys doing this morning?
I'm tired. It's been a long
I'm able to speak, so it's all good.
That's a good way to start off a Sunday.
I'm thankful for buttons so I can mess it up.
And I'm thankful we got a really good show last night that we're going to be able to talk about. And I think it's going to have a great opportunity to fill pretty much this entire show here today. But before we do, of course, we got people joining us in the chat. Good morning, Astrid, saying my tag partner, Ed. So, yes, Ed joining on screen as well. And good morning, Astrid. There we go. We got it.
Almost forgot.
And also, of course, my friends over at Prairie Pro Wrestling joining us in the chat here this morning. Awesome way to spend a Sunday on Thanksgiving weekend. Have an excellent show, gentlemen. And happy Thanksgiving to all our Canadian friends. And, of course, just because, I like to, get my own name out there sometimes. There we go. Time for busting out to the extreme because Extreme Rules happened last night. And that is going to be the topic of conversation tonight. Guys, before we even talk about the obvious points from last night, what were some of the things that you found maybe stood out for you outside of, the main event, the first match, and obviously the return? Is there anything else in particular about Extreme Rules that you wanted to start off the night talking about that really stood out for you?
The one thing I did want to say is I thought it was really touching that Bayley came out with a Sarah Lee memento to honor the passing of Sarah Lee. I thought that was really cool. I would have probably preferred it to be more of a babyface that did it, but it was very nice to see it being done, and I thought it was very classy.
Yeah, I agree with that as well, too. Ed, anything outside of that stood out for you before we start talking about the major topic points?
Don't do the thing. Don't do the thing. Don't talk about Nikita Lyons. Nikita Lyons! Yes!
There we go.
Had to do the thing.
Yeah.
I couldn't not do the thing.
Yeah, definitely. NXT on full display last night. Nikita Lyons was there in the
Braun
audience
Breaker
as well as Braun Breaker, too. So, definitely some big surprises within the night as well, too. And I agree with you, Parrish, with the Sarah Lee tribute.
Yeah,
Again,
nice.
It's very heartbreaking as well, too, to see somebody pass away ever, but somebody at the age of 30. I mean, that one really hit home for a lot of people, and it really affected a lot of people within the industry. And it really goes to show just how tightly knit this professional wrestling industry can be in the wake of events like that.
Yeah, and I think the one thing to be kind of taken out of this, it doesn't matter how old you are. If you wake up and you have a day to live, go out and live it, because you have no idea if it's going to be your last, if it's going to be someone you love's last. So just make sure that you enjoy every day and live life to the fullest, as one rich king would say.
Certainly so. Dare we start talking about the rabbit in the room?
I mean, we can.
I mean, if you want to hop to it, we can.
Might as well. Anyway, Bray Wyatt makes his triumphant return last night at Extreme Rules in very epic fashion. I think people were, especially after Friday night on SmackDown, I think it was pretty much set in stone. We knew this had to be Bray Wyatt. The tease was no longer a tease, but literally just slapping us in the face with the comments, "Let me in." I thought this was a beautiful thing, the way they presented it. I know that Ed brought it up, so did Parrish this morning, about the tribute to Brody Lee within the doorway, the blue doorway. And let's talk about that moment for a second, because again, how much that must have meant to Bray. All this time off, wasn't able to really get to go show just how much Brody Lee meant to him out there on camera, the way that some other people got to have that opportunity. So a big moment for Bray Wyatt last night, not only returning to the WWE fold, but getting his opportunity to pay homage to his fallen comrade as well too.
Yeah, I believe this was the first time Bray was actually in front of a camera since Brody Lee passed away, if I'm not mistaken. And I just thought it was very fitting that on a show where we're seeing somebody honor the life of Sarah Lee, that we actually see Bray Wyatt, who is more than just a brother to Brody Lee, show a lot of good love and a lot of just a great symbol of I remember you, and just a great token of he'll now always be with him. And I think that's just a really good symbolic gesture with someone who I know takes very much pride into detail and the little parts of it. And I thought just adding this was just a beautiful touch.
Yeah, I thought it was fantastic as well too. Ed, your thoughts on that portion of the return last night?
Yeah, I mean, it was. I didn't notice it going there firsthand. I happened to see it on Twitter and was like, "Oh, that's a really obvious connection." I knew there had to be something. I mean, Bray Wyatt is one of the most creative minds in our generation, so there was obviously going to be something that attributed to somebody. So that made a whole lot of sense that it was going to be in there. It's just nice to see because, like you guys said, all this time Bray's been sitting there and making posts on Twitter or making posts on Instagram, but never getting to really do it in front of the crowds to really get that catharsis that everybody else got.
Yeah, and we could see how excited Master 69 is this morning. Ryan really enjoyed himself last night and talked about the presentation finally being what we wanted, leading us to believe it was going to happen. And that was the thing, even putting up the graphic at the end of the night when it came to the end of Riddle and Seth Rollins in that main event. The graphic comes up that makes it the trademark and everything. You're like, oh, well, show's over. Okay, well, they really let us down this rabbit hole a lot. And then the lights go out and damn, like it was a moment. You could hear how excited the live audience in Philadelphia was, which was great to see. A huge, massive pop. It even got the holy shit chant going simply for a return presented the way it was. That crowd was hot for this. The world is hot for it. I mean, this is trending all over the world. This is the big buzz. It's going to be for a long time. I don't think White Rabbit or Bray Wyatt has stopped trending in the last month since all this started happening and Michael Cole oversold
I disagree. I thought that was a really, really nice touch.
Yeah.
To him not knowing if they were still on the air.
Yeah.
But you also never trust a Triple H show where the graphic comes up. You always watch past the graphic just in case.
I thought it would have been a better touch if you had somebody like from like the earpiece mention and we're out. And then you had Michael Cole say, wait, are we still on? Because there's something going on. Like something like that. Like I would have just gone a little bit more in depth with it. Because I think I can understand where he's saying where he oversold it, because sometimes Michael Cole, when he gets excited, I mean, he gets a little bit well, I'll just say it. He gets a little Ed when he sees Nikita Lyons excited. I mean, he busts right out of excitement when that happens. Sorry, I had to speak.
It's the thing.
Hey, she was busting out as well, so it's all good. We all like to bust out
everything.
Mondays. But with that being said,
oh, there it is, first one of the day.
Had to. Yeah, no, I mean, like I see where Bazer's coming from that. And yeah, and I mean, we all know Michael Cole. It's weird. I was watching something, and this is going a little off rails, but I saw something with Michael Cole. I think it was on the Bumper pre-show, like kind of just on the network. Him with the gray hair, and I still remember him getting hazed by DX in the locker room, and I'm just like, I'm old. But but no, I mean, yeah, no, I can see it because sometimes you just want things to be perfect, and sometimes the little things could almost kind of like, come on. And maybe Michael Cole's like overexcitement could have done that. But I mean, at the end of the day, I think it just made it more special. And that's what was really cool about it.
If anything got oversold by Michael Cole and Corey Graves, it was the fear of the random fiend the burnt fiend mask that showed up on the commentary desk. I mean, they went a little over top of their fear of that. I mean, I could get it if all of a sudden Bray was standing right in front of them. I mean, I'd be scared if Bray was standing right in front of me. But just to have the mask, it's kind of like, all right, boys, you know what? You're probably okay. He's probably not going to bother you.
I would have loved it if, like, Graves would be like, "That's not Carmella's." I would have laughed my ass off if he said that.
And we got am I not mistaken, there was also somebody wearing a Fiend mask in the audience as well too. Aside from all the different puppets that were shown, we also had an appearance of the Fiend within the audience as well too. Now,
Wyatt 6.
Exactly. So now, does that mean that the Fiend character is being passed along to somebody else? Is Bray going to be a leader of these other characters that we saw, which a lot of us have speculated from the get-go that this was going to be something along those lines? And do we still strongly feel that it's going to be the original ones that people were guessing, or is this going to be something completely different? And I want to pick your brain on that, Ed, because I know you had some thoughts on this and who it could actually be behind those masks.
Yeah, so like I have a wild and crazy idea. I don't think we're going to see much of the Fiend going forward. I don't think that's going to be a character we're going to keep seeing, even though it's part of the Wyatt 6. But what I do see coming is, what if we have all these Joe Gacy stuff? Joe Gacy was part of the Clue on Raw. On NXT, during Grayson Waller's Instagram Live, Joe Gacy's own WWE Instagram account posted a picture of a white rabbit. Joe Gacy's Twitter yesterday morning had a picture of him entering Philadelphia. It's the cityscape from the highway. So chances are Joe Gacy was there. What if, with the new member of the dyad being brought, the schism being brought in, including the dyad, we get the schism as the 4 puppets? Because there's Joe Gacy, there's the 2 members of the Grizzled Young Veterans who make up the dyad, and then we have the female that's going to be joining them. That could be the puppets right there.
Yeah, it is a very strong theory. Not going to argue with it. But again, we got to go to this topic for a minute too. And I know Asher mentioned this earlier, the possible connection with one Alexa Bliss, because if we saw I'm assuming that was the Abby the Witch character with the back turned, had 2 championship belts there, a Raw and SmackDown championship, which easily could tie to a connection with Alexa Bliss. And we know that her dealings with the Fiend over the time that he was with the WWE previously have made people believe strongly that Alexa will tie back to this group. Parrish, I'm going to go over to you first on that thought. Your thoughts on this being Alexa, or is that a swerve? Is this somebody else?
It all depends on how you perceived Bray Wyatt's last match against Randy Orton at WrestleMania and what Alexa did to the Fiend character. And that's really open for discussion, because you can look at it one way. You could look at it where she screwed the Fiend out and got him and kind of burnt him, if you want to say. You could also say that maybe she took on the powers of the Fiend, and maybe she could be the new Fiend, or Fiendtress, or something like that. Yes, I just came up with that word, which I thought was cool. So it's interesting. I think it all depends on what the connection with Bray and Alexa still has. Is Bray upset with Alexa, or is Alexa now the one who has maybe the world in her hands? Because the one thing that Alexa hasn't really stopped is that kind of having Lily as her friend. She still kind of has that. It's just more of a controlled power. So it's very interesting to see kind of what that is. I don't know yet, but I do think that there is going to be at least references to Alexa, because that's part of his past. And the one thing we know about Bray Wyatt is everything has been referenced in his past. So I think it'd be nice, because I think Alexa Bliss is getting a little stale in the tag team with Asuka. So it'd be nice to see her being more primarily used. I don't know.
Ed, how about yourself? It going outside of your original thoughts with who it might be, if it wasn't that, is what kind of symbolism we saw with the Abby the Witch character last night in the title belts more strongly linked to Alexa, or do you feel it could be somebody else on the roster?
Here's the dumb thing, and here's where I'm going to get into, do we get ourselves into our own rabbit holes? What if that was just a fan who just happened to have that seat, and it's nothing?
we're going purely on possible coincidence. It is possible as well too. You just never know, kind of thing. Yeah, it's a tough call because again, I think a lot of people want for it to be Alexa so bad, and yet a swerve would be for this to be completely out of left field and be people that, I mean, again, we know Triple H has said that there's people that he's bringing back that nobody has even been talking about, and this might be some of that. There is a very strong possibility that some of the people there could be people that we aren't even thinking about or talking about that could be behind all of these masks. Parrish, I know you want to get a word in there.
Yeah, what if I know this, like, because this is tying into the Joe Gacy stuff. What if the person in the red hood on NXT actually is Alexa Bliss, and she's the connector of Schism and Bray Wyatt?
Interesting. Very interesting thought.
Hmm.
And not outside the realm of possibility. Continuity would scream for that to be the case. Like that
Triple
works.
H cinematic universe.
Yeah. It really does tie together beautifully and work nicely. Yeah. And I think, you know what? I think you just won Astrid over that with that idea right there, Parrish. But I want to roll back to another one of the characters that was revealed last night. I know we
in
were
the words of
talking
somebody that we saw again this week, yeah.
Yeah. I want to go back to one of the other characters, and I know we were talking about this off screen before we went on the air here today, guys, as the homage paid to Waylon Mercy, the Mercy the Bird character, clearly on display, wearing the same style clothing, the white pants with the, the Hawaiian or kind of that type of shirt that Waylon Mercy was well known for wearing during his run in 1990s, which was very strongly inspired the Bray Wyatt, the Bayou Swamp Leader that we got when he debuted within the WWE. Ed, I'm going to go to you first on this one. I know you're a Waylon Mercy fan from the past, so I want to hear what you have to say.
Yeah, I mean, I always loved Waylon Mercy. He was absolutely a huge inspiration to Bray Wyatt's Bayou, minister kind of cult leader gimmick. It was heavily inspired by Waylon Mercy. Dan Spivey, the guy who played Waylon Mercy, was a tag team partner of Bray Wyatt's dad when Bray Wyatt was a kid. So they would have known each other. It makes a little bit of sense that he would have potentially looked up to him for potentially. I always thought that was Bray Wyatt's best character. It's where I met Bray Wyatt. It's where I, fell in love with that character. The Fiend stuff was great. The Firefly Funhouse stuff is interesting. But to me, that idea of creating the cult and creating the Wyatt family and the stories that you were able to tell through that were so much more telling and just structured than the stuff that ended up happening with the Fiend.
Yeah. Parrish.
I think there's a lot more room to grow when you have something more simple than when you have something complex, because when you have something complex, you tend to lose more people along the way. And I'm not saying that's what happened, but when you have the Fiend and you have such a combination of small details, not everyone's going to be able to pick them all up. That is why I very much loved the way they did this and spread it out so people could follow along. And I'm sure eventually, if there hasn't been already, we're going to see somebody make a clip of all of the Bray Wyatt teases and things throughout when they first started doing it till the reveal. But when you had the swamp version of Bray Wyatt and you had that initial one, you saw all the layers unfold. And you felt like you were part of that story. So if you're a new fan now and you're seeing this for the first time, you might be a little bit confused on why everything matters because you weren't there to live it. I think it's very interesting now that Bray Wyatt has decided to almost be a different vessel of the Bray Wyatt character now. He seems like he's more back to that swamp one. However, that's an early perception. Let's wait till the next time we actually see him. Get to hear him talk. Get to see that next and that real first interaction with someone to see what this version of Bray Wyatt actually is.
I'd like to know more about the mask that he wore when he first came out, before that was unfolded. It almost seemed reminiscent of like a Greek god or something like along those lines as well too.
V
So
for Vendetta.
there could be along those lines too, more like a Guy Fawkes, and he was the one that stood against the oppressive government and stuff like that too. And I mean, it's so much more to still unwrap and unlayer, and I think that's what makes this exciting. I mean, all this was a reveal. They gave us the obvious at this point. We all were pretty certain this was Bray Wyatt, and they gave us that. They're like, yeah, you're right. You know what? You're on to us. It's Bray Wyatt. But what you don't know is the rest of the story. And guess what? You better turn your asses into Raw and SmackDown and everything we've got coming up if you want to find out more. And that's been the great thing about the viral marketing that's been done revolving around all of this at the moment. They've done such a beautiful job of making people want to tune in to their television programs just as much as their pay-per-view or premium live event, such as last night. I mean, I'll be the first to admit it. Extreme Rules never usually on my priority list for watching. I'm not a big fan of constant gimmick matches, but I had to watch last night. They made me need to watch, and they made me stick around till the end without having to tap out. I mean, again, there was still enough there to enjoy without it, but I think if they wouldn't have had the finale, it wouldn't have been quite as exciting and memorable as it was. This is the thing that is going to make people talk about this version of Extreme Rules for years to come, which is something that hasn't been done with the Extreme Rules pay-per-view maybe ever. I don't know if I can go back and say, hey, do you remember that Extreme Rules where this happened? But now I will.
I mean, 2020 with the horror show where they had the swamp fight. But not for a good reason.
I'm sorry that you're talking pandemic era wrestling. Forget about it. No thanks.
Also, I just wanted to shout out. We're talking about the mask. I want to shout out Jason Baker and the guys over at Calosum Studios. I looked him up on Twitter because I remember seeing a tweet earlier that he made all the costumes and the masks, especially Bray Wyatt's brand new mask. It is the same guy who did the stuff for The Fiend. It is the same guy who Bray was working with the Firefly Funhouse stuff. So, horror movie extraordinaire Jason Baker is continuing to kill it, helping WWE do all of this stuff.
Yeah, I mean, again, the presentation was absolutely beautiful last night. The transitions between the reveals of each of the characters with the spotlights on them, the door, the way they brought it out. The best part is WWE has had to say nothing during this whole time. There has been nothing but video releases, clues, and they've allowed the fans to do the talking. And that has been the best part about the marketing surrounding all of this is they've had to do very little and gotten a lot out of it at the same time. People are intrigued. They want this. Even though we know it's Bray Wyatt, it still did not take away from the effect and the impact that it had upon the entire crowd, live or watching around the world last night. So I think
here's a fun. Oh, sorry. Go ahead.
Yeah, no, go ahead. No, I was done. No.
Okay, I was gonna say because here's the fun thing. Do you guys think the White Rabbit was always planning to be Bray Wyatt and Extreme Rules? Or do you think this was an open-ended plan where it started out as we have some ideas to do this viral thing, and depending when we can get Bray to pen to paper, we can then put a finalized date on it at a certain point? Because I think this changed. There's a point in these things where they changed from being kind of open-ended to all pointing to Bray Wyatt at a certain point.
Yeah, and I think that's maybe comes down to the brilliant mind that, so many have talked about when it comes to Bray Wyatt. I think he knew what to do going into this. He knew how to get people talking with leaving it open-ended for a while there kind of thing. And that's what worked about it so much that they weren't ever 100% sure. We thought we knew for sure, but there was always that doubt because especially with the way that WWE is booked over the years, you sit there and look at it and go, how many times have I gotten excited thinking it's this and they give me that? And that is never usually what anybody wanted kind of thing. And that's what I think so many people were starting to think that's the way it was going to go. And then they're like, no, you know what? You're right. It's Bray Wyatt. Here you go. And that's what we were going to give you in the first place. We're going to give you exactly what you wanted, but you don't know the full picture yet because there's so much more to unfold. I don't even think he is the White Rabbit still. I mean, we saw a rabbit costume in the audience during those reveals last night too. I think that there is still somebody to be unveiled under the White Rabbit costume that we are going to see coming up here, whether it be Raw, SmackDown, or leading to the Survivor Series, which is our next stop in terms of the big shows.
Triple H, in that sit down with Ariel Helwani, when asked about Bray Wyatt, said he loves working with Bray and the creativeness that he has. And sometimes Bray's a victim of his own mind. So he needs somebody to kind of guide him along the way so he stays on track with all of the ideas that he has, which I thought was really, really interesting to hear. So when he had the opportunity to probably work with him creatively again, yeah, I do believe that this was a great example of all the little detailed information that Bray Wyatt comes up with. And I believe that he was smart enough to get a lot of this in. And Triple H was also the one. He's like, you know what? Okay, let's do it this time here. And it was a collaboration. I do believe that this was a controlled thing from the get-go. And I think it only seems super obvious because a lot of us understand the story and the details of Bray Wyatt. So once we see one that fits, that's where our mind goes. That's where we're led to believe when we see someone that indicates anything. Nothing's more evident than, when AEW did stuff for CM Punk, or we saw the odd Cody Rhodes reference before WrestleMania with Seth Rollins. Like, we saw a lot of those examples. So I do believe that this was a direct thing done by WWE and Bray Wyatt from day one. Because if they, and I just don't see Triple H putting all this on chance.
I don't. By my question, I wasn't so much saying chance. Like, I mean, we all know that this didn't happen overnight. Like, this is a long-term plan that happened over a variety of weeks. I'm just saying, what if it was always intended to be Bray Wyatt? Just what if it was never always intended to be Bray Wyatt last night? What if it was going to be, if they were still working out details and they were still ironing everything out, that maybe last night we get Huskus the Pig Boy, or we get Rambling Rabbit, or we get a portion of it as we lead to Bray Wyatt, as opposed to everything. Yeah, and also, are we the White Rabbit? Because I think that's what it is. I think we're the White Rabbit being led down the rabbit hole.
Oh, we're just Alice. We followed the White Rabbit down the hole. We kept going for more and more and more, just like they say with conspiracy theorists. They just keep going down the hole until they can figure it all out.
We all know Bray Wyatt is a conspiracy theorist. Let me tell you.
The only thing I would have been, what would have been awesome is if when we saw the rabbit and he saw the X and he chewed it down, if that X didn't represent Extreme Rules, if that X represented DX, the Monday Night Raw, to follow Extreme Rules. But I think there was a collected plan to choose Extreme Rules. I think Philadelphia and the crowd was a huge target. If people haven't noticed lately, there's been a lot of good reveals at good crowds and good cities that respond to them. And I think that was a big takeaway too, that Philadelphia is a very hostile environment. We saw that very evident with Roman Reigns in the Royal Rumble. But I think even that is something designed. Like, even those things are well designed. We're not prone to give WWE credit based on a lot of things they've done. I think this is one where we just clap our hands and say, thank you, WWE. Thank you.
How could you not? Has there ever been anything other than this goes back to Jericho. Like, the last time viral marketing has worked this well, it goes back to the Save Us stuff from Jericho.
It also
Unless
goes
there's
back
something you guys can think of.
It also goes back to the initial one, the Millennium Man one as well. But the only difference was social media wasn't so polarizing back then. I had to find the right word for that, by the way.
Cesspool is the word you're looking for.
I'll go with polarizing because there is some good in social media. But yeah, no. So like, I don't know. Like, I just like the fact that there are these moments now in professional wrestling that aren't salted, aren't taken away by the people on social media who needs to be the guy that spoils. It's like the a-hole who goes to a movie who already saw the first showing and has to tell the theater what's happening next as it's going on.
Yeah.
You know, like it's kind of that guy. So it's nice that professional wrestling can allow us to have these moments, have these big, long returns and stories that allow us to go with it, get hooked on every little detail, and just enjoy it. And I think that's amazing because that's storytelling at its finest. And if there's one thing pro wrestling needs more of, it's great storytelling.
Well, and they say kayfabe's dead, and yes, to a certain degree it is, but at the same time, they managed to have anybody involved with this, keeping this secret long enough. Despite all things, nothing truly got leaked other than what they wanted to get leaked. They used social media as a platform to increase the interest in this entire thing, and that has done absolutely wonderful for us. Good morning, Papa Smokes. Good to see you out. So they did an excellent job, and I mean, kudos to them for using some form of kayfabe in a modern era where people say it's completely dead, and I think they did a wonderful job. But we did mention about kudos to them for what they've constructed. Well, what they did construct last night was a fight pit matchup, and the fight pit matchup used one time in NXT. This is what stood out as well too on the card. Another big standout, and I know Basser earlier said Matt Riddle has to be in a wheelchair today after the floating bro off the cage. That was genuine pain and agony in his voice and on his face. The adrenaline got him up last night, but I can't see him moving too softly today. What a match though. DC didn't need to be there. Don't touch me. You know what? DC didn't draw away from the match, which was nice. His spots were picked beautifully within there. And the floating bro, I mean, that it looked like there was definitely some pain on the face of Riddle. And how could there not be? I mean, I don't know about anybody in the chat who's ever even taken a bump, but even just taking a bump and then thinking about taking that bump from that high up doesn't sound pleasant by any means. And I mean, Parrish, I know you can attest to it because you've taken bumps off of higher levels. I'm sure you knew how much pain that Matt Riddle was going through last night.
I mean, there are times when you're just like, you know what's going to be cool, and you do it. And then as soon as you do it, there's a part of you that just says, wow, am I just swimming in a pool of idiot sauce right now? Because that was stupid, because he didn't really take into account how it was going to feel when it happens. Yeah, I can understand it, but I know he doesn't regret the bump. I've done many bumps that at the time I'm just like, oh, why? And then at the end of the day, I'm just like, yeah, but the fans thought it was cool. And so I don't know. That's the name of the game. If bumping was fun, everyone would do it. So I mean, yeah, is he hurting? Probably, but I'm pretty sure he has a natural herb that'll take that pain away, and he'll be just fine.
It does the trick quite often, more often than not. I hear. I mean, I'm not talking from experience or nothing like that, but it did look very painful. But in general, the whole fight itself looked painful. These guys put on a great, and I want to say a fight because this was presented more like a sport, an actual MMA type fight for the most of it. That's why you had DC in there as the special guest referee, which again, people feel like he didn't need to be there, but he didn't draw away, which a lot of the time special guest referees have that tendency to draw the attention that way. I'm the special guest. The focal point is me. No, DC backed off when he needed to, laid down the law when he needed to, like any good referee should, to the point where I often forgot that this was a special guest referee and just a referee doing a solid job in a main event matchup.
One of the things I thought about with DC, and I was thinking about it, you need to have a special guest referee. And you think about it. The last time we did this, it was Kurt Angle. You need to have a referee that can take a punch and take a little bit of a beating, because Lord knows referees are made of glass. Like, all these referees are made of glass, because as soon as somebody bumps them the wrong way, they all fall down and they're out cold for 5 minutes.
Yeah.
There's no way to get in or out of this. There's no door. So if anybody has to get in or out, they have to climb the outside of the cell, climb up the raised platform, get in, and then climb down again. So you need to have somebody sturdy. And yes, DC didn't need to be there. But at the same time, to tell the story the way you need to tell it, you need to have a referee who can take a little bit. I disagree. I thought DC did a really good job. I was intrigued by how he was utilized, by, grabbing the guys and pulling them off and being like, no, you're fighting him. If you hit me, I will hit you back. The way any good special referee should be. And they do it with both guys to make sense of it, because that's the importance of it. Seth Rollins gets in his face, or as we should call him, RV Rollins.
That was fantastic. By the way.
What about Rollins VD?
No, RV Rollins is better.
But no, and it's right, because this reminded me a lot of when Ken Shamrock was asked to be the guest enforcer in Steve Austin and Bret Hart in that submission match, because you had someone that, it didn't matter how rough it got, how personal it got, how aggressive it got. You had somebody who was willing to also get just that and being able to officiate it in that way if he had to. Also take an account that the whole, hey, Riddle, you still there? You want to talk about my family? Let's talk about yours. That whole segment was a tribute to the DC John Jones interview back in the day. So I thought it was fitting that DC was there, because God knows that John Jones probably couldn't pass a drug test to be there himself. So I said it, whatever. Well, thank you. We appreciate that. And we also appreciate everyone who took the time to spend their Sunday morning or Sunday afternoon, depending on your time zone, to be with us today. Thank you. But yeah, no, I mean, so there's a lot of little nice things about that. And no, I don't think DC took anything away from the match. I thought Riddle and Rollins had a hell of a match. And I can really see that match being kind of the climax of their feud for right now. Maybe they kick it back down the road, but I think that was a great tip of the hat to the work they've done, because let's be honest, that was the one feud that we weren't sure was going to stay when Triple H took over, and it really blew our expectations out of the water. And I thought DC was just there to help out that match. I don't think he took away from it. Did he have to be there? No, but you can make the same argument. Did Ken Shamrock really have to be there? No, but he added to the star power of this match.
Yeah, I couldn't agree more. And here's the next thing I'm going to talk about when it comes to this matchup. We know that Rollins obviously taking a loss has done nothing to hurt Rollins in terms of his overness with the crowd. You could hear it last night. They were firmly behind him despite him being the clear-cut heel in this matchup. Rollins is a star. Everybody knows it. So taking a defeat did not hurt him whatsoever. Did it do enough in making Matt Riddle go over to put him into the upper echelon at this point in time? Is Matt Riddle now a main event player more than ever after a big victory over Seth Rollins, and a clean victory over Seth Rollins last night?
He still needs that good rival. This is why he's getting up there. It's because he had that good rival. Randy Orton helped him get back up there with RK Bro. Seth Rollins got him there in a singles capacity. He needs that right heel. And I actually would not hate if we got a mini feud with Roman Reigns, because I do believe Solo Sikoa could be a very good opponent for him if you don't want to do something like Gunther, if you didn't want the end story with Sheamus taking that IC title. But no, I do think he still needs that. because one bad thing can still bring him back down, in my opinion.
And I know that he is currently on Raw, but when you mention Gunther, I like that direction. I really think keeping the IC belt on Gunther and having a program with Riddle, where Riddle becomes that X factor going after Gunther, I like that, because I really do think that there's a fight to be had between those two boys. And at some point in time, when we do get a Gunther and Matt Riddle matchup, I think they've done enough to make me believe that it's going to be one hell of a fight between the two of them. But okay, so we've talked about the big reveal. We talked about the main event. Guys, let's talk about the opening match from this card in particular, the Donnybrook Brawl, which this thing could have been a complete cluster F as far as like things go. When you start putting that many guys into a matchup where there are no rules or anything like that, it can be a mess. And this one, yeah, it was a little messy at first. They went 100 miles an hour right off the start. They started throwing everything at each other. But it did make a lot of fun because these guys, both these sides have done such a great job in this rivalry that it made you invested in it enough that it was fun. And then they actually brought it into some wrestling after a while. So they used a lot of the gimmicky stuff at first and then brought in the wrestling side of it. And this was the match that got the "This is awesome" chant throughout the entire night. I mean, this is the one I'm sure people out of all the matchups on this card are going to talk about as being the best of the entire card. Outside of the main event. The main event had the argument, but the first match I think was the show stealer that nobody expected. Your guys' thoughts on that?
I mean, I really enjoyed this. I like the one thing I noticed about it is they left the weapon stuff for Ronda and Liv. Now, granted, Ronda and Liv didn't live up to it, but when I've talked to Parrish about this before, about how making sure that you don't repeat a bunch of spots. The only weapons they used in this match were the ringside table and the shillelagh.
Yeah,
for the most, they used the bar a little bit. They jumped off the barrels, but as a weapon, they really didn't use much of anything traditional. So it left everything open for the Extreme Rules match, which I thought was going to be later in the show. I did not realize they were going to do these back to back. And I think that was poor planning on WWE's part, I will admit.
Yeah.
I wouldn't have done these matches back to back. But I really enjoyed this match. I thought it was great. Wonderful storytelling, letting Sheamus, get the win. It was fun. It was different. I'd like to see it again.
Yeah.
When I watched SmackDown and I watched Gunther and Sheamus too, at some point we have to bring the 2-3 that old school Roman counts back. I think I really firmly believe Sheamus will win the Intercontinental title at some point, and I am okay with that because I would have no issue if these guys battled over the Intercontinental title for as long as they effing want. What they're doing with this title, what they're doing in general, is amazing. I loved this match because it gave Sheamus his steam back after a controversial finish on SmackDown. It gave us belief that he can beat Gunther, as he was the one who pinned him.
Well, remember, Vinci was pinned.
Oh, was he? Sometimes
they ended up pinning Vinci at the end, yes.
Okay.
Yeah.
But at the end of the day, he still got the dub. What he was able to do was bring that belief back to his side to the point where now you want Gunther Sheamus 3. This has been probably the one feud nobody expected, and it's really running the ship right now in WWE. I honestly believe that this is the best thing going in WWE right now. And what's amazing is that it's involving the Intercontinental title. And what it does, it's involving someone who the internet has complained. I don't know if there's been more name changes that the internet bitched about than in this match right now.
It's true.
Ludwig Kaiser, Gunther, Butch,
Giovanni Vinci, if you could tell me more feuds that had more name changes that people piss their pants about online, then let me hear it. But nobody cares because what these 6 men are doing is just phenomenal. Ridge Holland looks like $1 million, and people complained about him getting on the main roster so early.
Remember, he's the one in that unfortunate spot with Big E that everyone was like, "Oh, get him out of the ring. He's terrible. He can't do this."
Yeah.
Dude's killing it.
And that's just it. It's a feel-good story on so many levels because, the artist formerly known as Walter is Intercontinental Champion. He looks amazing, and he's being taken seriously, and the main roster's not burying him, brother. Sheamus looks like he's on a redemption story, and he's looking to grab the one title that he never had. Butch is just Pete Dunne with a different name, and it's fantastic. We have Imperium back, and everyone's happy. And what's not to like? Guys just kicking the crap out of each other, fighting, brawling, amazing, and they're different. And guess what? It makes us care about trios in WWE. It was like watching the Wyatts against the Shield back then. It's just nice.
And, I would hold off on Sheamus Gunther 3. Like, I don't rush this and put a one-on-one at the Survivor Series. Survivor Series, go back to tradition. You have an opportunity here. You don't have to add a fourth to both sides, but you can have a classic 3v3 Survivor Series level matchup between these two teams, and it makes sense at this point. You don't have to have them have involvement with the war games that are going to be taking place. Obviously, it's going to be reserved for the Bloodline and a top 4 pick on the other side kind of thing. I really strongly believe that you could just put these two teams into another matchup with the Survivor Series classic rules involved with it and have a great opportunity where you could come down to it being one guy on each side, Gunther and Sheamus, to end the thing off and have them beat the hell out of each other. Another opportunity maybe for Sheamus to get some of that steam back and pick up the victory for his side, only for everyone to believe, okay, now's his time. You set up Sheamus Gunther part 3, say, if you can go longevity-wise, hold it off till the Royal Rumble. Everyone believes Sheamus is finally getting his chance. I'd still have Gunther go over, believe it or not. I would have Sheamus just unable in one-on-one competition to come up with that victory and hold that IC belt strong, because it has been a long-ass time since the IC belt has looked strong like this. And same with the U.S. title. It's just a testament to Triple H caring about the legacy of these championships and wanting to do something better with them.
I can one-up you, and I'm gonna.
Okay.
You can put a twist on the Elimination Chamber right now, because you have 4 pods. You have 2 men in the ring that start. That's 6 people, and you have 6 people in here. You can do an Elimination Chamber War Games type match where you can have 2 men from each, like 1 man from each team start the match, and every 5 minutes another person come out, and one fall to the win. Well, fall has to happen once everyone's out. First team that gets the fall win, right? Boom, and it's different. And hell, do it on a SmackDown. And like, how absolutely cool would that be? Because it's not taken away from the War Games. It's not taken away from anything else. You can make it its separate own entity, and it could just be great. Because for the first time, you can use Elimination Chamber in a different way and kind of revive Elimination Chamber from the stupid pay-per-view that they do right after the Royal Rumble that makes 0 sense ever. But yeah. Or maybe it's after Mania. No, I think it's after the Rumble.
It's in the in-between show that nobody's cared about for years as well, too. But
then,
I mean, throwing it all on SmackDown, geez, it's like ways to blow the budget there, Parrish. It's insane. But
I also don't know how to press buttons either, so I mean, I get.
Maybe you need a backstage producer. But no, I mean, we sit here and we talk about Survivor Series, and I want to talk about Survivor Series too. It's in my hometown. I'm not able to go because reasons. But, I mean, that show's going to be killer. Remember, we still got Crown Jewel.
This is true.
We're 4 weeks away from Crown Jewel.
Yeah.
So I'm
not going to put Elimination Chamber in Crown Jewel. I think that's a bad idea.
They already did that, didn't they?
Yeah, but, they did too, didn't they?
They did it last year, didn't they?
Yeah, that's right. It was there.
Yeah, they did the Elimination Chamber in Saudi last year.
Well, color me dumb. Okay, then.
But
you guys continue. I'm going to
we got Survivor Series now. Remember, Survivor Series closes out. Survivor Series closes out the WWE PLE year. Remember, don't forget that. There is no December PLE, and we have day one coming on January 1st, 2023.
That's right, day one.
So, I mean, there's ways to build this out. I say if you redo the 6-man tag in Saudi, and you go ahead and then you detour the story a little bit, and you have Sheamus and Sheamus part of the bloodline feud, and you deal with the bloodline stuff, and then going into day one, beer sponsored by Parrish.
Yeah.
Okay.
A free plug as always.
Yes. But then
I can get a beer on stream without drinking it. Can stay closed right now.
After you detour with the bloodline and the War Games match in a Survivor Series, then you move to day one, and that's where you get Sheamus. Bring back this novel concept: a number one contenders match at a pay-per-view, and then you get the Intercontinental title match at WrestleMania at Royal Rumble. And then potentially having the moment where, like Bobby says, Sheamus wins the title at WrestleMania.
Hold on.
There is a good question from that Canada dude, Parrish.
Oh, yeah. Put that back out there.
I tried. I think we all hit it at the same time.
Because we keep things professional here on Busting Out, okay?
Okay.
Really?
Hey, you have casual wear on.
Pinocchio Parrish over here.
I'm not even going to touch that one
for this Sunday special. You know,
I am not touching that one, Ed. I'm not touching that one.
There's a lot of ones over the years you said you weren't touching though too. I'm sure of that.
Anyways, Extreme Rules. Sheamus and Gunther were great. I want to see more. I don't care how we get more. I don't care what combination we get more. Just more. By the way, it was so great seeing the Brawling Brutes on NXT. I know Parrish and I talked about it. But it was so nice seeing that and letting the story continue that way. Just fantastic.
You know what wasn't great seeing last night? Ronda Rousey.
All right, so that match happened, and we move on to the next match.
Yeah.
I'm going to tell you why this was the right decision. And people can throw shade at me, and I'll take it, because whatever. You got to admit that Ronda Rousey still is a name draw for the WWE. And
1,000%.
Cannot have her lose 3 times to someone that, from a perception standpoint, she can fucking eat.
True.
Like, this is somebody that, and Liv Morgan has not blown expectations out of the wind right now with her title reign. On top of this, she had the title probably for a lot longer than people expected, probably shorter than what we want. However, this allows her to be vulnerable. This allows Liv to be a little bit more sympathetic and for that organic rise for her to come back because she was losing a little bit of steam. On top of this, we still have to understand that Liv Morgan still is able to beat Ronda Rousey twice, more times than many people on that roster. Liv Morgan didn't get the raw end of this deal. What she's getting right now is a little bit of character development that will allow her to be a bigger star later. It worked for Randy Orton when he was world champion and had that championship taken off right away. It worked out for him in the long haul. We have to understand that even though Ronda is not our pick to be that one person, she very well could be the most hated person that we want to have somebody take that off. And if we care enough about Liv again, and she is again the person to take it off, that only helps Liv in the long haul.
Okay, but if Ronda's champion, is this going to be a long title run, or is this an expected, kind of get the title off of Liv, put it on Ronda, and then lead towards somebody else coming to take that title away from Ronda? Or will there be a repackaging of Ronda in general? We know that one of her weakest points has got to be her promo work. Do you stick somebody with Ronda to help elevate that and make her a stronger looking champion? Or do you immediately bring someone in, make her a transitional champion, and put the belt elsewhere? Ed, your thoughts?
Ronda Rousey's holding this title to WrestleMania. They are building to the man versus Ronda Rousey. That will be the women's main event at WrestleMania 39.
Yes, 39.
That's what we're building. She's not losing this title anytime soon.
So are we making the assumption then that Becky returns Royal Rumble to win it and makes that challenge, or is this going to be the match that's just made because?
I think it's a match that's just made because, but yeah, Becky might win the Rumble. I don't think she needs to. I think there are viable reasons that you can do this without winning the Rumble. Maybe they do a women's elimination chamber match this year, and Becky wins the elimination chamber for number one contendership.
That's fair. Parrish?
Yeah, and I wouldn't even hate it if this kind of goes in a different direction, and this allows us to get babyface Shayna Baszler, and we see for the first time Shayna Baszler versus Ronda Rousey. I wouldn't hate it because it is a little different. I wouldn't hate it because it finally gives Shayna Baszler a chance to be the champion on a show, which I know a lot of us would say, hey, this should have happened a long time ago. And damn right, it should have happened a long time ago. Shayna Baszler should have took the title off Becky Lynch. And that would have been way better. But again, this is also something that we got to look into, that I still believe with Ronda as the champion, and if she's getting booed and she's the most hated person there, this even could align for if Astrid said a Charlotte to come back and be a baby face, because right now I don't know if Charlotte's ever going to look like a baby face in the minds of the WWE fans anytime soon. However, maybe there's.
I was going to say, is there ever a match? Oh, sorry, go ahead.
Maybe there's somebody else that we haven't seen yet in WWE, or we're not seeing right now, that could come back and be that person to take it off. And no, I'm not talking about Sasha or Naomi, but maybe there is somebody else in play here, or they're using this as an opportunity to help elevate someone else. And I don't think it's the worst thing. I would actually love it if the play here was for Liv to eventually win the Royal Rumble and go to the end of the line, and then earn that championship the way that I think the fans like more than Money in the Bank.
That's a very fair assessment. I really hope, going back to Shayna Baszler, that they make Shayna Baszler the voice for Ronda Rousey. This is who cuts the promos. It's her quarter person. This is who's going to help her with this championship run until the time is right. And Shayna's not anymore. It's not. And she's the one that goes after. And again, you talk about a babyface Shayna Baszler. Shayna Baszler is probably one of the best to transition from the MMA world into the professional wrestling world, and has done an excellent job of it. Everything that she lays down looks painful. It looks like she could legitimately kick the living daylights out of any other human being alive today. And I believe that if she was there as that muscle, that voice, that person that helps to elevate Ronda, would make that story that much more intriguing when she finally says, no, enough's enough. I've lured you in. Now my time has come. She gets that opportunity and she goes for it. Or have Shayna be the one that wins the Royal Rumble, and the expectation is that, Ronda Rousey believes she's going to go and challenge the Raw Women's Champion because she wouldn't turn on her friend, and she says, no, to hell with that. I want you, and goes to WrestleMania against Ronda.
Another thing that popped in my head, what happens if this is the beginning of maybe the female two-woman power trip in WWE, and Shayna Baszler becomes the Raw Women's Champion, and this is the dominant force moving forward?
That's a good thought as well, too. Nobody has a problem with it if all roads lead to Shayna Baszler and a championship run. I think that's what everybody wants to see. I don't think definitely nobody in the comment section arguing with us on this thought anyway.
Imagine this. Imagine this. That happens, and the two people to take the titles are reuniting Becky Lynch and Charlotte.
And yet nobody wants the Charlotte run. Yeah. So. Yeah, and it is funny, too, going back to the comment about you never wanted Charlotte to return more than ever. It's funny how many people are so against Charlotte until all of a sudden it's somebody they like even less, with Ronda Rousey being the champion. Suddenly Charlotte slots in there just beautifully, more so than anybody was asking for. Got to ask you guys, too, we had a couple other matches from the card we want to talk about. Seeing as we're on the topic of the women's title matches, let's go over to Bianca Belair and Bayley, the ladder match. I honestly thought Belair was not going to walk out of this as the champion. I thought this was Bayley's time. I don't know what to think. I mean, I think Bianca Belair is perfect. I think she's a great athlete. I think that she does a wonderful job. I just thought that maybe it was getting to that point where the fans were getting a little bit of a disconnect because it feels more like she's a character than she is her real self. Her real self is easy to make a connection with. She's an amazing human being, done wonderful things throughout her entire professional career in general. That part of her is easy to connect with, but there seems to be this disconnect between video package Bianca and in-ring Bianca. And I thought that maybe because of the way they have pushed Damage Control, the way they have pushed Bayley, that this was definitely going to be Bayley's time to be the champion. Does this take Bayley out of the picture for the time being, or do we feel that this is just one step towards Bayley inevitably being the one to conquer Belair?
I think this is just the next step in Bayley eventually conquering Belair. I think you've beaten up Bianca so much and the others so much recently that you needed a feel-good spot. People also thought that, how bad would it feel for Bianca to lose the title again to a Four Horsewoman? Just coming out of the blue and being like, oh, look, Four Horsewoman's back. Here's a championship title. Have that. It's nice.
Yeah, that's a good way of putting it, too, because, I mean, it does seem that way as soon as any of them walk back, they're immediately made champion. Parrish, your thoughts?
I thought this was the best way for Bianca to lose the title without actually getting beat. And I really thought, I'm like, Bianca Belair is the John Cena of the women's division. The way she won that, I'm not against her winning. I don't like the way she won. The way she actually took out 3 people and overcame those odds the way she did. Because I'd rather have seen something like that done when everything's stacked against her and she's chasing, not as champion. I thought she could have been crowned the champion again once she has to walk the long road back. And I believe she is the one that could do that and the fans can get behind more than even Liv Morgan. And to me, I just thought, why is this a consistent trend now? Why is Io and Dakota, why do they lose the tag team tournament, then win the titles? And then we see Bayley lose this ladder match. And then if she's win a title, why do they have they move one step back to get 2 steps forward? Like, why is that a constant trend? And why can't they not? Maybe the Damage Control that they're controlling right now is within. But I do think I think all roads lead to Naomi and Sasha coming to aid Bianca here. But I just don't know if sweet Saints are winning. I just don't know if this is the I don't know. To me, I just think at some point you got to take that title off Bianca and make her chase. I think she can be very strong with that chase. A little sympathy for her goes a long way, I think.
Agreed. 2 more matches to go over here, guys, before we maybe call her wraps here on Busting Out. But let's talk about the strap match for a minute, and then we'll go to the I Quit match. Strap match, Karrion Kross going over Drew McIntyre. Again, 2 big guys, 2 great presentations. I mean, the presentation of Karrion Kross alone is worth its weight in gold. Just the way he comes out with Scarlett at his side and everything like that. The presentation looks phenomenal. Karrion Kross with the slick back hair. I mean, that was different. That was a sight to be seen.
Wait, are you telling you don't miss Bondage Cross? Like, come on, Bondage Cross is peak Cross. Like, don't we want that back? I think we love all the nostalgia stuff. Don't we want that back?
I think we can pass on that portion of the nostalgia for a bit. But again, this was 2 big boys really just tearing it down. The only problem I really have with this whole thing is there was really no need for a strap match between these 2 guys. They haven't really had matches to begin with to lead to them needing a strap match. And I know this is a gimmick pay-per-view and that's what they go with. It's what they roll with. But inevitably, those matches, the gimmick matches, were usually left to storylines that needed a blow-off. And this one doesn't need the blow-off yet. I think this one is just getting started. And I guess it allowed us to get, the vicious, wicked side of Karrion Kross that came out that refused to put the strap on right away and beat the living tar out of Drew McIntyre from the start of this matchup. At the same time, I mean, the only problem I have with it, and it's splitting hairs, is just it was unnecessary. Other than that, these two guys, they know how to work. They're great. They're big boys. I want to see more from them moving forward.
Yeah, I think when you
sorry.
Go ahead, Ed. No.
I was the only problem I have with it is I have a small quibble over the finish. You have this big, you have big Karrion Kross, and he wins because his girlfriend sprays pepper spray in the guy's eye. Yeah. Like I love everything else about this match. This match is perfect. Except, and like I said, I don't even hate the fact that she's involved to make the finish happen. I just wish it wouldn't have been pepper spray.
Yeah.
I just wish it would have been like another, distraction that she used earlier in the match to get his attention. Or he's like, no, I'm going to ignore you. And then ignores her right into a crossface, the silent submission that he uses, things like that.
The cross jacket, even if he would have done the cross jacket with the strap or something to choke him out, would have been a nice touch.
Something. Like it just felt like a weird finish.
Yeah, I think in a way on a pay-per-view like they had here, they're trying to be a little bit different, and I get that. I can understand that. I can respect that, and I think it's hilarious that Triple H has already have proved that he is more capable of handing Karrion Kross straps in his career than Vince ever could. But again, like what's funny is that these guys should be more like Imperium and Brutes and just beat the crap out of each other and be more of that heavyweight tilt. And I think that's definitely what I get out of these guys. These guys are a true heavyweight tilt. And it's kind of nice. They're not going to be as fast-paced as what you're going to see maybe in the other matches, but what you're going to get is more brutality. I would have preferred these guys maybe to be in more of a structure, but what can you do when you have the fight pit later on in the show? It's hard. It almost seems like the strap match was there just to give them something because they want to do something more. And when I say they, I mean creative probably wants to do something bigger, but they just couldn't because they didn't want to take away from any other matches going on.
Yeah.
But that being said,
oh yeah, you got another one.
I have all the time in the world to see Karrion Kross and Drew McIntyre welt the backs of one another with a strap, and I can hear that.
Or the faces.
Yeah. As much as we all love a good Gunther chop, I love a good whack on the back of a strap on someone. Do I love that finish? Hey, Ed.
What? You like the strap? You like it when the strap's on. It's all.
Hey,
you didn't like the match when you didn't like the match when Kross didn't put the strap on.
Ed, no, Ed. This is no L here. But
no lay.
Yeah, no lay, Ed. No lay. No, I like Scarlet. We like Scarlet here. All right. But where I was going with that, and it's simple. Like, I just think these guys should just beat each other up. These guys don't need wrestling holds and stuff like that. It's like UFC heavyweight tilts. You never know what shot is going to take you down. Yeah. Broken Dream reference. What up? I'm back on track, man. Despite that comment, you said it. But yeah, I mean, I agree with you, Bobby. This can only be the beginning. I do find that they're going to probably have a blow off at the Rumble, but I'm now wondering if maybe Karrion Kross could be a legit threat in that Royal Rumble match.
I think he should be a legitimate threat. I think even without what they were pulling last night, he should be a legitimate threat. I mean, he's got the look of a main event player. He obviously is a very skilled guy in the ring. And on top of the presentation that they've given him, his entrance has people watching and paying attention. And that's what you want from a star quality performer. And that's what you get with Karrion Kross. I think he is an X factor leading into the Rumble. Like, they've created a lot of X factors because, before under Vince's watch, we knew, direction might go a certain way. It could go with somebody obvious that they've gone with 1,000 times to win the Royal Rumble. Been a pretty simple main event at WrestleMania that everybody's expecting. With Triple H, there is that X factor of we don't know and we're not sure. And he's created a lot of these stars going into it that at any point in time he could pull the trigger on any one of them and people would pay attention.
Yeah. Just remember what Adam Cole says about Karrion Kross. To make you special, they give you the girl and the entrance and the smoke and the black and white. To make Adam Cole feel special, they ring the damn bell.
He said freaking, by the way. And here's another thing. Right now, Adam Cole ain't that special in his presentation to AEW, and Karrion Kross is very special, and I will take that right now. So, yeah, maybe he's right
I'm just saying.
With that. But guess what? Sometimes when it works, it works. And that's just not a fact. That's undisputed.
Ooh. Get him in there. Yeah, forget it. We're not even going to talk about the last match now. We're out. No, just kidding. We're going to talk about that match.
Don't quit now. Don't say I quit now.
No. We're going to run this thing right into the I quit match. The most overbooked matchup of the entire night. And again, I don't think anyone's going to argue that. This thing just kept going. And
it was my favorite match of the night, by the way.
Was it really? Wow.
It was absolutely my match of the night.
Up until the last 30 minutes of it not stopping, it was on fire. But I mean, it seemed like everything just over and over again. Do you quit? No. Do you quit? No. Do you quit? No.
Well, that's what every I quit match is. You can't blame these two for the fact the match is literally do you quit?
Yeah, no, I get that, but and then it takes Beth getting the best part was them going after Beth and having him quit based on him not wanting his wife hurt and knowing in the back of our minds they're going to do it anyways. I mean, he might as well not quit because they're going to absolutely murder her regardless, and they did. And this almost leads up to the idea that we could end up seeing Beth Phoenix involvement again. We could see Beth Phoenix versus Rhea Ripley, which I don't think anybody would complain about that opportunity for that matchup to happen.
No, and I think that's the saving grace out of this is that you had that face-off and interaction with Beth and Rhea, and the ovation they got when they started throwing was probably the loudest ovation of the whole match. So, despite the fact that maybe we think that this was an overbooked match and maybe went on a little too long, there's still a silver lining that came out of it. And that was the fact that we had Rhea and Beth. We also got to see Dominic Mysterio finally clock his dad in after the turn. And boy, did he ever. So I think that when you take things away and you clip it, there's some good things that came out of this match. Did it feel dragged on? Yeah. Would I have liked to see maybe this match be maybe 5-6 minutes shorter? Sure, because they still could have gone there. I don't think they really needed to do as much damage to get to that. But also, the story wasn't that bad. And in fact, it was a good story. But I think, again, it's just one of those stories that maybe was just too thought out. And it's just, maybe just next time, keep it a little bit more simple and it would have been more effective. But I'm finding right now the Judgment Day is almost as much as they're something to watch, they're just always missing that little something. And I'm wondering, the longer this plays on, was it really the right move to take Edge away?
And I say no, it wasn't the right move. It happened way too soon. Edge brings the star quality that I think the group needed in a leader and stuff like that to get them over. Everyone says Balor's a star, and yes, to a degree, sure. Balor's not a talker. And I say that because there's no conviction in the voice of Finn Balor when he gives a promo. Not that he gives a bad promo, but his voice doesn't lead to conviction. And him as a leader of the group, I think falls a little bit flatter than when Edge talks. When Edge starts talking, you believe every word that Edge is saying. He delivers it in a way, his voice carries a certain way. I could believe Priest more than I could believe Finn when it comes to, believability in what the words are. Finn is a phenomenal wrestler. Don't get me wrong. And that's what helps carry a match between him and Edge is the two of them work very beautifully together and they're able to come up with a great one-on-one competitive matchup. But you're right. Edge was taken away from this group way too soon. And Judgment Day's never really been put over. I think this is the closest they've come to putting the Judgment Day minus Edge over since the creation of the group in general. I think that had they gone this direction from the get-go, they were dominant. They were winning everything that they came out to do, might be a different story. But at the beginning, it was loss after loss after loss for every member of the Judgment Day. And it wasn't until now that it's finally starting to take a bit of a turn.
If only there was a couple good brothers for the taking. I wonder how much better this would have been had Edge stayed. You added maybe someone else other than Finn to this group, and you could have had AJ, Finn, good brothers against Judgment Day. How much different that could have felt like.
Yeah. Imagine the Survivor Series elimination match you could have had down that path, of course. And then we wouldn't hear so much complaining, because I swear that I've heard it at least once or twice about people not so happy about Edge wearing pants.
No, I don't
sorry, Finn Balor. I'm sure they're happy
like
Edge is wearing them, but, Finn Balor on the other hand.
Yeah.
No,
people are very, very unhappy that Finn is in pants now.
I mean, and you know what? Let's talk about his mask a little bit. I found the mask to be more why than the pants.
Yeah.
Was it a nod to Hellraiser? Is Hellraiser his favorite,
I don't even know because that looks more like Demolition than it looks like Hellraiser.
I don't know. I was trying to find something.
I mean, I just don't understand. Maybe it's just the Canadian Hot Topics. I just don't see those in stores. I don't know. But
you're looking in the wrong store there, sir.
No, he's in the right place.
I mean, it was also a little tie-in between Hot Topic with that, the Bullet Club, okay.
Okay.
But I don't know. To me, I just feel there's something missing out of the Judgment Day right now. Whether it's maybe it's that someone that holds it all together, and I feel really that's Rhea at this point. But sometimes I'm more leaning towards I like the Dominic and Rhea stuff more than I like the Damian Finn stuff, and I think that's a little bit concerning when your big guy and your leader of the group really is Finn, and then really the muscle of the group is Damian. I don't think that's a good thing to have so many underlining stories in a group. I think they gotta really just nip it in the bottom right now and do something different.
Yeah, I don't feel like Finn fits the mold. I think Finn would be better off on his own doing his thing. He is a great wrestler. Present him that way. Put him in high caliber wrestling matchups in the ring that people want to see. Not saying this isn't high caliber. Him and Edge on paper is a great, fantastic idea. And nobody is against the idea of seeing these two wrestle whatsoever. But I just don't feel like it needs to be with the involvement of the Judgment Day whatsoever. Again, I think that they could find somebody else to take that spot to lead up the group, and the presentation could be right. Priest has the look. He has what it takes to make that work. So does Rhea. I think that they're just one more that needs to be slotted in there, and Finn's not that guy. I think it was easy to go, well, this is the guy that used to come out as Demon. But that's just a cool factor that he had going for himself on his own that doesn't really necessarily fit the feel and the look of the Judgment Day itself. So again, I would revert Finn back to being the Finn Balor people connected with and loved in the first place, the one that gets out there, kicks some serious ass inside the ring and gets over. Because you're gonna need baby faces that aren't these dark mystical characters. I mean, we've seen now Bray's back. We got a whole lot of going on there. We don't need more darkness. We need some clear cut baby faces to go out that legitimately we believe can kick some serious ass. And Finn's a guy that can do that. So I would almost bring back the Finn that everybody wants to see and have him go back out there. And I would maybe go a different direction with the Judgment Day altogether. And I mean, you're right. The best part of them right now is definitely Rhea and Dominic. And I didn't ever expect to be saying that because Dominic never really connected up until recently. But after last night, I'm like, yeah, I'm paying attention. I'm definitely paying attention to Dominic going forth for the first time ever.
Well, I mean, Dominic's finally, channeling his dad and being more like Eddie Guerrero, and it's obviously helping him in his, his in-ring stuff.
Yep. Even his presentation looks better. The hair, I mean, a mullet is never the most attractive looking thing, but it's better than the baby face looking like he's still 10 years old, Dominic getting in there, but looking clumsy because he's a big boy. I mean, when we look at him compared to his dad, he is a very big boy, and he's getting some growth with time at the same time too. Like, it looks like he's been hitting the gym last night, and the physical side of him is coming out better, but he does clearly have that baby face about him. But adding the Guerrero mullet, I think, is a beautiful touch, and I think a better look for Dominic as a whole.
Isn't it funny how maturity works on kids? But no, and I think just going back to Finn, I think maybe him being the leader was the wrong choice. I think him maybe being the hired gun of the Judgment Day would have been a little bit better because he doesn't have to talk, but all he gets to do is just do. And I think that would be better suited. Yeah, that'd be better suited for Finn now. And yeah, maybe you can have Damien be the talker. Maybe you can have Rhea talk a little bit more. But this, again, is where I think Edge would be better suited there because he's the better talker. And I think it just would have made sense. I feel the Judgment Day would have been more complete with Edge as the main guy. And then, yeah, like, I don't know. To me, there just needs to be there's a missing link right now with the Judgment Day in my eyes.
Yeah, very much so. But in the end,
my question with all of that is, if you sub Edge back into the Judgment Day, what's the link that brings the Guerreros into this? Because the Guerrero link is the link between Eddie and Ed. I'm sorry, Eddie and Edge, with Ray and Ed. Ray and Edge. You get it.
Ray and Edge, yes.
Ray, Edge, Rady. They all go together at some point. You know what I'm talking about. But yeah, it's just like, this is the glue that holds that whole thing together. So you need Edge to be on the other side of this. I think if you were going to sub anybody out, it would have been, like you said, AJ Styles would have been the person to bring in.
You could have still brought Dominic Mysterio in if you continuously attack Ray and Dominic to the point where then Dominic could just turn on his dad out of frustration. I still think that there's still a story there. What it could have been, I wouldn't know right away, but I'm sure like you could have come up with one that made sense. I just have a feeling that you're not going to see the Judgment Day grow anymore the way it is now. There has to be a different piece to that puzzle. And right now, I'm very much, I don't want to see Edge with around the Judgment Day fighting against the Judgment Day. I want somebody different. And I feel right now, the only thing that's connecting me to caring about this is the fact we have Rhea against Beth. And I think that's very concerning for the overall careness about this group.
Yeah, we should care about all involved, not just one in particular. But at the same time, when we talk about that silver lining, the silver lining is obviously Rhea and Beth in the long-term plans, and everybody wants to see it. But hey, in the long run, it was an I Quit match. Edge quit. Finn picks up the win. Judgment Day has the advantage in this feud for sure. And we did not quit on any of you that joined us in the chat today. We went the full almost 90 minutes now. So we're very thankful, as always, that you spent this Sunday with us. But in the meantime and in between time, before we go, we want to find out where each and every one of us can be found throughout the week. So let's start with our very special guest, Mr. OLED, down below. Where can they find you?
You can find me on Twitter at EdFries12584. You can find me sometimes on Twitch at EdFries2002. You can catch me soon on Ole Pods on Twitch. So go ahead and keep looking out for that as we release more and more details about that. and about my new show, Variant Wrestling Realities.
Yeah, I love the sounds of that. That one is going to be one hell of a show for everybody to watch out for. More to come on that one very, very soon, as well as more on OLA Pods as the cat is now out of the bag. And we know that a lot of shows are going to be going over there. But speaking of shows, I know someone who's got a few during the week. At least he gets his name out there and does an excellent job. And I'm talking about my Brunch Buster brother. That man right there, the guy responsible for all the beautiful graphics you see on screen right now, too. Mr. Chris Parrish, where can the good people find him?
That's me. You can follow me on Twitter at Chris Parrish, Instagram at Chris.Parrish. And obviously, if you're watching right now, you can follow me at Twitch at The Chris Parrish, which I am very much asking for a favor from all of you. I would like to hit affiliate status at some point, and I know I need your help to do that. So if you can give me a like, share, but more importantly, a follow, that'd be highly appreciated, and I would love it very much, because guess what? If we can make money here, we can make this better and a better experience for all of you. And that's what we want to do. We want to put our best foot forward to help the people that are helping us. That is you, the people in the chat, because we care, and we care very much. Yeah, so you can follow me this week on Tuesday with Taking Over, episode 5. With Astrid as my co-host and possibly Ed. Ed, are you going to be in? Are you going to be in, Ed? Are you going to be in?
We'll find out on Tuesday.
You can check us out on Tuesday.
I bet if Nikita Lyons is in, Ed's all in.
I mean, maybe Ed could be Lions. They're not saying his name.
Before we say anything further, though, and speaking of making money, that Rogue affiliate down there, the QR code that you see on the screen and also across your screen right there, you could go and follow that link to head on over to our good friends over at Rogue Energy. So Rogue Energy are an alternative to the average energy drink that you find in the stores. They are vegan friendly, low calorie, zero sugar, and lots of amazing flavors that you can try out yourself. If you go over, follow that QR code or the link down below, you could go use the promo code OLE Pods. It's going to get you 10% off your order, and there is a lot of amazing flavors for you guys to check out. So if you're a streamer, a gamer, anything that keeps you up to all hours of the night, you know how much work goes into this stuff, and you need something that's also going to keep you in good health, you want to visit our friends over at Rogue Energy. And with that said, hey, you can find me throughout the week at many different places, including Thursday nights, where you know that I do a show with someone who joined us in the chat earlier today, Mr. Papa Smokes. We are the Video Bros. We have an MLW review show called Fusion. You can also check out our past shows, which last Thursday night, we had an awesome, wonderful guest in the form of Lance and Hawaii. So you never know who's going to show up. No special guest this week, though. It's going to be just myself and Papa Smokes. But I believe I could let the cat out of the bag. On the 20th. Stay tuned.
Hold on.
Oh.
We have a graphic for this one.
Breaking news. I think this is breaking news.
I think it is. There
it is. All right.
Yay.
Okay, cat's out of the bag. It is finalized and going to happen on Thursday night, the 20th, on Fusion. We are going to be joined by the man himself, the suplex assassin. Alex Kane is going to be joining myself and Pop Smokes that night. So make sure that you're following along on Twitch or YouTube if you want to put your questions in for the suplex assassin, Alex Kane. It is going to be a wonderful, phenomenal show. And also a week following that, one Thursday ahead of Alex Kane on the 27th, we're going to be joined by another member of Alex Kane's Beaumaye Fight Club in the form of Mr. Thomas. So those two interviews are booked, scheduled, and are going to go down. So stay tuned for those, as well as many other great things between Fusion and also right here. We know that Thursday nights we usually do the doubleheader, but this week we're going to start going to just Fusion. And Ring Respect Radio is going to become pre-taped and is going to be coming out on a Friday for you wonderful people, so that you have the opportunity to jump from our show Fusion over to another show from some good friends of ours. Astrid and Cody just debuted on Friday, Making an Impact, the show all about Impact Wrestling. So I want you guys to go and follow along, subscribe, and check out their show as well, too. We're going to be rating their channel right after we finish up with Fusion this Thursday night. Now that I've run my mouth way too long, gentlemen, I think we probably could call it a day and get people on with their day so they could go, if they live in Canada, have some Thanksgiving turkey and some drinks. And if they live in the States, hey, just to get excited about your Thanksgiving coming up in about a month's time. That being said, we look forward to seeing you right here next Sunday for another edition of Busted Out. Until then, see you later.
shivering, shaking as you're running out of breath. If you're ready to rock, we'll just let it fall. Are you ready now? Are you ready to move with me? Just move with me. Move with me. Come on, get up and move with me. Just move with me. Move with me. Up on the floor.